Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. Good evening, wherever you might be tuning in. My name is Sinan Ozdemir. I am the CTO and co-founder of a company called Loop Genius, but I want to be talking to you today a little bit less of an AI person and a little bit more of someone who knows they need to be doing marketing, but really sucks at doing it. So, who am I actually? I am former mathematician, lecturer from Johns Hopkins, turned YC founder, working on AI startups for the last 10 years. Blah, 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 blah. I teach math. I teach AI. I'm a developer, mathematician by trade. But how I used to be, this little handsome young boy right here, used to be someone who just started his first company, did get a master's in math. That was something I did, was teaching at Johns Hopkins, and used a lot of spacing in his slides because he didn't have much else to go on. But I did know one thing. At the time, about 10 years ago, I wanted to start my own AI consulting company. Why? I wanted some side money. I wanted to get my brand out there, my name out there as someone who knows what they're doing, is good with clients, and eventually work that into something a little bit more, into something hopefully what you see here today. Now, if I had a company like Loop Genius at the time, I would have used it, but I did not. So what I did have to do on my own was make a website, which obviously at the time you had things like, I don't even know if Webflow existed. I don't think it did, but WYSIWYGs like that, which were really complicated. This is all going to end in a demo of the actual platform, I promise you. I just want to take you a little bit through the journey of what I had to do manually, but what we can now do with a little bit of help from generative AI, mostly automatically. So I had to make a website where I had to give my pitch, my value proposition. I had to take all that into consideration, my target audience. How do I distill all of that into a website? I didn't really know. I asked my friends for help. But with Loop Genius, all you have to do is type in a name of a company, which you can change, and your basic premise of your idea. And our tools, which uses OpenAI, will use that to understand who is your target market, what is your value proposition, what are you actually trying to do, distill all of that into a business plan, and from there, turn that into a fully working website to start. So this is an actual website I made using Loop Genius. It all comes with a functioning waitlist so people can go to it and sign up. All the content is editable, as you will see in just a moment. But a website is not enough, as everybody here knows. You can't just have a website and call it a day. I have to get in front of my target audience somehow. And there's obviously a lot of ways you can do that. Long-form content, short-form content, video content. Content tends to win at the end of the day, but there are obviously other ways of jumpstarting that as well. At Loop Genius, we believe that the right way to do that and get in front of your customers is to expand your reach, find out who your community is, start putting yourself out there as someone who knows what they're talking about, knows what they're doing, because that's really the best way to effectively get people looking at you, at your product, and paying attention to you. So what we do at Loop Genius is create what we call loops. Loops are more or less discrete elements of the things you should be doing to get more eyeballs on your product or your service. For example, maybe you're starting a marketing service. Maybe you're starting a dog walking company. Maybe you have a business where you recommend plants to your clients for their home, like a designer. So for any of those, you would want to start talking about, well, what's in the news? Well, what are some customer success stories that I have? Well, what should I be talking about? These are what we call loops. What are the discrete things that I should be doing to get eyeballs on me and the thing that I am doing that I eventually want you to sign up for? Maybe it's our website that we made for you. Maybe it's your own personal website that you made. But you have to do something to get people to come to your website. One of our most popular loops is called Thought Leadership Loop. It is a way to help people like me 10 years ago talk about stuff in the news, but actually get your real take on it and not just say, hey, look at this thing in the news. Because the worst thing you could really do, not the worst thing, but one of the worst things you could do is just take a news article and say, hey, look at this, and call it a day, right? You need your take on it. What's your opinion on it? If only some kind of AI could interview you about what your actual take is on that content. Now, a lot of people out there who are prompt engineers, myself relatively included, We'll say that one of the most powerful features of OpenAI, and not just OpenAI, but any large language model with the capacity for conversation, which is relatively new in the last 3 years, what they are really good at is probing a user and asking questions, basically holding an interview. And this is actually one of the core tenets that we have at Loop Genius is while GPT could just write you a tweet or write me a business plan, what it really should be doing is getting to know you. So every time you find an article, or in the next week or two, depending on our front-end devs, how quickly we can get out a recommendation of news for you from recent sources, GPT will interview you about the content of that article through our thought leadership loop. So you type in an article, it scans the article, reads the article, has a conversation like, what are your thoughts on this? Well, how do you feel about that? And once it's done, it writes you a Twitter thread, or writes you a LinkedIn post, so you can post it to all your socials. But it's all contextualized to what you do, what your take on the news is, and not just, again, here's the news, have fun. So we believe at Loop Genius that a lot of the content that is being created with AI tends to be, this is an industry technical term, poisoned by the sense that AI generates a certain style of content. It gets out there, people find that content to feed their AI, and it's a bit of a vicious loop. So to break that loop, a lot of what we can all be doing with large language models is telling the language model, don't just write the first thing you think of, ask me questions about what I want to write about and what style I have. And at Loop Genius, we can do that automatically by scanning your LinkedIn posts, scanning your tweets if you do have them. But if you don't have them, again, an interview takes hold to say, what do you want to say about this news article? Sure, it exists. Good for them. But what's your take on it? Again, we believe that contextualization is what's going to win your content strategy at the end of the day. So I start to see traction on my website. Loop Genius tracks the people who are signing up to your website, to your wait list, if it's ours or yours. Right now, it's just ours. Soon, you'll be able to bring your own website. But we're tracking people are coming to my website. They're finding it on my Twitter bio, from the tweets that I'm sending, on my LinkedIn, whatever. They're finding me. This is awesome. And again, the idea of the loop is you're supposed to keep doing it. You're supposed to be tweeting about a news source that you see, ideally at least once a week. You're supposed to be talking about customer success stories if you have any. You should be talking about, thinking about what you should be posting on TikTok through a storyboarding, which is also coming soon. The idea is you should be reaching out to as many mediums as make sense to your business, right? If you're a financial accounting firm, maybe Instagram isn't the right place for you, maybe. But if you're reselling luxury items, maybe Instagram and TikTok are the best places for you. All of that's also considered in the business plan that Loop Genius is generating on the back end for you. So we're recommending these loops. We're thinking about the content that we're putting out. And the whole point here is anyone who signs up to Loop Genius doesn't have to be a pure marketing person. I'm not a marketer. I will never claim to be a marketer. My co-founder is. He's great. He's here as well. But I'm not a marketer. I am someone who is good at something. I have a side passion, but I don't know how I'm supposed to turn it into a side hustle. So let's see how this all works, right? That's what we want to see. Doggy rollerblading. Love it. My side hustle is to help people teach. Help people teach their dogs. We're going to walk through a series of crafted prompts. We're not crazy here. We didn't make our own LLMs from scratch. We are using OpenAI, of course. But we're going to create a website for you, create all the content for you. We're going to tune into what are the feature benefits. What steps will you have to take to do this? And within 30 seconds, we get a website. This is actually my least favorite template. Hold on. This is my favorite template. So we're going to teach your dog to rollerblade like a pro. By the way, note the emojis, all those, everything that you see here is completely generated by GPT. And I should note is also completely customizable. This is also a fully functioning website. This is now a website that you can go to right now, doggyrollerblading.loopgenius.com. You can connect a custom domain. You can track your waitlist. And now from here, if we want to click the right thing, we can edit any of this content. Oh, I wanted this to be capitalized. Oopsies. And now done. Everything is completely changed automatically. Now, From there, you want, okay, so what's a good news article? Dogs rollerblading. Here we go. We'll add that to my Google search. Great. We love it. Love it. Okay. Hey, here we go. That was better than expected. We're going to go to our loops. We're going to do a thought leadership, and we're going to give it this link. Okay. So pretty quickly, what happens is we're going to scan that site. We're going to look at some of the content on there. This is probably an image from that site. This is not AI generated. And it's going to start an interview with you. Alexander, what do you think about the idea of rollerblading with your dog? I'm going to go ahead and assume I love it. I think it's a great way to play with your pet. Let's go with that. Is that fair? It indeed seems like a fun and active way to spend time with your pet. I agree. Do you already have experience in rollerblading, or would this be a new activity for you? I will teach them everything they need. I swear I wrote 7 books. They need to know about rollerblading. Great. It's going to think about it. It's going to answer the question. Fantastic. Sounds like you're ready to take on this new adventure. Do you have any concerns or safety about specific challenges you anticipate? There's got to be, right? Wear a helmet. You got to wear a helmet. What about, is there a helmet for dogs? They got to wear a helmet. They need a desk. Okay, last question. Do you have any favorite places or routes? What's your favorite route to go on? Once it has asked you, to its knowledge, sufficient questions, it's going to take everything that we just talked about, contextualize your take on that article, and generate, for now at least, what we're going to see is a Twitter and a LinkedIn post. And then from there, the idea would be you can tweak that post, you can post it, obviously, directly from our platform. And this is the loop that we want to be going on. So while it's thinking about it, so it's telling us like, okay, ready to embark on a new adventure. Once it's done, it's going to show us a nice little pop-up with all the content there. But you can read it as we go. And the idea would be that we recommend these articles to you. You can find these articles, but the idea is tweet about this. Okay, ready for a new adventure? Taking fitness and pet bonding to a whole new level. Rollerblading with my dog. Check out this cool guide I found. Blah, 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 blah. Paw wax, you ask? This is the thread, by the way. And you can change all of this. Similarly, for your LinkedIn content, similar stuff obviously is going to look different here than it will on LinkedIn, but it's all editable and it's all postable. And from there, you post this, you start getting people on your wait list. You keep doing this. This is the loops part. You start talking about customer success stories, and bada bing, bada boom, you have a business. This is what we believe is the next wave of people who may not need marketing, or rather who may not know marketing, but need to do it. We even have people who have their own marketing agencies using our platform for their own clients to figure out their content strategy. So this can really work for all kinds of people. Now I can keep going. I've made plenty of these. I'm sure if I go to there we go. I've done plenty of these projects. So you can have as many projects as you need on our plans. Coffee co-working shop. Sure. Why not? Seems fun. I have a lot of notifications waiting for me, but I'm going to ignore that for now. But this is really the core competency of what Loop Genius wants to offer. We want to be able to incorporate as much AI as we possibly can. But again, for our core hypothesis that AI-generated content can be good if you let it learn about who you are as a person and how you want to present yourself. And if we can get the AI to do that, which we can see that it for the most part can, this is the cycle of content marketing that we want our users to be able to do. Some kind of like animal related, someone's making like candles for cats. I can't quite remember. There's like 1,000 people, but there's plenty of really cool concepts that people are working on with Loop Genius. So to kind of cap us off here, well, that was our demo. We can do more, by the way, for around the corner after our talk, but I do want to take some time to answer some questions, because if you have questions, not just about the product, but about how we are thinking about marketing at Loop Genius, I would be happy to answer any of those. So for that, I will kind of sign off for now and turn it over to you guys. I won't call it content moderation per se, but just kind of the idea of validating an output from a large language model. Again, I come from a technical background. I spoke at the AI for Developers talk last month, where it was much more coding and much more of me actually getting into the theory and the weeds. But my personal hypothesis, more what I believe should be done in the space of LLMs, is you kind of have two approaches. to talk about engaging content, there are multiple frameworks that you can prompt into the LLM. So if you like a framework, this framework's producing good content, you can use that in your prompt. That's easy, right? That's kind of the easy part. The harder part is to say, okay, well, how do we iterate on that content and continually improve it, and by what metric? So in the simplest way, which is what we are working on right now, and I say working on, again, I mean in the next couple of weeks, this should be active. As you are posting this content, you are able to see how many likes you have, the engagement that you're seeing. What we want to do then, or we are going to do then, is take the posts that are the most engaged with, likes or reactions on LinkedIn, whatever that may be, and start using that as further input to the LLM. Now, again, it's still the same large language model, it's still the same GPT, but again, contextualizing it and forcing it to not speak like itself, but to speak exactly like you. So what we do is we hold what we call an internal interview, where we literally have an LLM talking to an LLM. And we basically pit them against each other to say, can you talk more like this person? This is actually a concept that was popularized by a company called Anthropic, the people who made Claude and what is now Claude 2, reinforcement learning from AI feedback, blah, blah, blah. The long story short is, we can use a second AI model to basically judge the content of the first AI model and say, does this content fit the style of this content over here? If not, keep iterating until the second AI has given feedback saying, this feels right. And that will solve the style question. The engagement question for us still comes from, are we picking content that is either actively being engaged with if you are tweeting and posting on LinkedIn or whatever social media, or is it coming from an engaging framework that we have to prompt in if there is no data to start from, or internal data for that is engaging? So our vision for the company is less to compete with, because when I think of GoDaddy, and I think of, like a DNS, a domain provider, what was Google Domains, now no longer. These are companies who will sell you a parking spot on the internet, right? But what you do with that parking spot, what you park in that parking spot matters to us more than the actual parking spot itself. Because if you have a good domain, that's like 10% of the battle. I don't know why I looked at my Casio watch. That's like 10% of the battle. Because you can write the best content on there. You can get people's eyeballs on it. So we don't think we will ever compete with GoDaddy in that very specific sense. But our vision is more to think is to tackle the marketing agencies, the big marketing agencies of the world who say, you need to pay us $100,000 to get your first logo out there, your first website out there, your first whatever out there. No, we want Loop Genius to be everyone's first marketing hire. They're the people. Loop Genius is going to be boots on the ground, generating your content, fixing your content, iterating on that content. So we actually believe that eventually we're going to be going up against perhaps the HubSpot, or perhaps just name a marketing agency out there, because we believe that this is the kind of content that can really help. Now, to that end, we don't want to compete with them if we don't have to. Again, marketing agencies use us for their own clients. So there's clearly some symbiosis there. Marketing agencies should hopefully use not necessarily us, but something like us to help get more clients and use them more at scale and get them more at scale. So will we compete with them? Sure. Can we work with them if they want to? Absolutely. What you saw today, part of what you saw today was website generation. We are competitive advantage against anyone who claims, oh, we do LinkedIn post automation. Oh, we do website content generation. That's all cool and all, but you still need to come in there with an idea and the knowledge of saying, I think this is good enough to publish. And that's the kind of confidence that I did not have 10 years ago when I was trying to do this. So what we are really trying to do is not just give you tools, but prompt you, pun intended, to actually use them to the most quality that you can to get yourself out there. We are effectively automatically hand-holding you to loop yourself into getting your face out there, not just, here are your tools, give us $2,000 a month to use them. When we think about ownership of data, any piece of marketing, any piece of back-end content that we generate in order to help you generate this content is completely, we follow all GDPR. If you want to delete all of your data, we will delete all of your data. We care very much about ownership, and we will never, ever, I'm on tape. We do not use this personal data, your avatar data. I wouldn't call it an avatar, but we do not use that data to help generate content for anyone else, especially for someone who is competitive with you. Because who you are makes you different from the other person with a marketing agency. Because that difference will end up mattering. And GPT, for all of their pros, they have all their stuff to contend with about how they are using other people's data as well. So when we think about ownership of data, it really comes down to, if this data is personal to you and not necessarily to your industry or any sense like that, you have complete right to use it, edit it, and delete it at your own heart's desire, and we will not use it to generate content for someone else.